Hi, I'm Linda. I'm hearing a lot about the metaphysical theory of the law of attraction. The big distinction between regular physics and metaphysics is that in regular physics, opposites attract. In metaphysics, like attracts like. Positive attracts positive, and negative attracts negative. This means that if you focus and fret about some kind of potential tragedy, like getting cancer or having an accident, the more you think about it, the more likely you will draw that experience to yourself. Negative thoughts often travel through our minds. The trick is to move on from them as quickly as possible to something positive so as to not attract the negative experience to yourself. You can't avoid potential negative suggestions, but you can tell the universe that you don't need that experience and move on. Metaphysics addresses the spiritual realm that we cannot see. Faith in anything we can't see is part of that and encompasses all religions and many other belief systems. These days I have a belief system that is spiritually based on my experiences. When I was a child and being raised as a Christian, I felt most people's faith was blind. They didn't know why they believed as they did. They just followed and trusted what they were told by religious leaders. By the age of 12, I was getting discouraged by what I saw as blind faith and started seeking truth in other religions and especially Eastern philosophy. Years went by as I picked up bits and pieces from different philosophies and formed my own system. When my sister and only sibling died back in 1997, I got into studying mediums and psychics. With one psychic, I genuinely believe she helped me connect with my sister on the other side of life. As I became aware of spirits like departed relatives being real, I also became aware they like to help and guide us when possible, and it is often done in very subtle ways. Though we can't see them, they can influence electrical-based things and events. I don't know of any God that bothers with us here on planet Earth, but I have proof enough for myself that something watches me all the time and that I really can't get away with anything, even if it seems like I did at the time of my infraction. My negative karma caught up with me such that I paid a much greater price in the end than I would have if I had owned up to my mistake in the first place. However, what I got from it was that I realized that I am never actually alone. It just seems like I am alone when I am single and trying to date. Once that sunk in, I started finding that if I asked for something, the spirits, or shopping fairies, as I sometimes call them, would help me find what I was looking for quickly, most of the time. These days, I am pretty good at manifesting. Like when I finally decide specifically what I want, I tell the universe, and then it shows up when I go to look for it. This has not really worked when trying to apply it to people, but it works well for finding stuff. A popular trend these days is advocating the law of attraction. Supposedly, everything you want and desire is stored in a metaphysical bank, and all you have to do is align your attitude to allow it to come to you. There is a very popular lecturer who claims to be channeling a group of telepathic beings from a distant galaxy, which has turned into a very sweet and profitable gig. And the entire premise advocates being selfish to enable all these wonderful things you want to manifest. Somehow you just have to get out of your own way to allow it to happen. My experiences have shown me that there is actually merit to the premise. You have to think of it in such a way as to state to the universe, preferably out loud, exactly what you want. Then you have to let go of the thought and get on with your life in order for the idea to grow and develop and become reality. If you hang on to the thought and continue to ask for it, that blocks it from happening. Because we are stuck in linear time, we have to allow time for it to come to us and not get discouraged when it seems it is taking too long to arrive. I honestly don't have any proof that it would work this way for everyone. But it seems to work for me, and often what shows up is better than what I imagined. The key point is to allow for the time it takes to manifest. When it comes to finding your true love partner, this can take much longer than what is required to manifest material things. When I was newspaper dating back in the early 2000s, I was on the dating scene for 3.5 years before I met my late husband. The entire time I had a very detailed picture of who I wanted. I had this fantasy of connecting with a specific British rock star I had loved in my youth. I did find out he was still touring after all those years, but there was so little information about him I couldn't tell if he was married, divorced, or anything else. After getting very frustrated with all the losers I dated where I lived, I decided it couldn't hurt to try to contact this rock star. I proceeded to create poetry and a few other things and sent them to him by way of his tour stops and then his management company. If I could get his attention and he was available, maybe we could connect. I expected it would be impossible, but it made me feel better to try and see how far I could get before being shot down in flames. I never knew if he got anything I sent because there was no reply, which increased my depression. I got so low and disgusted with dating, I was ready to give up, but I snapped out of it with a little spiritual help. Before that, I had specific ideas on what would create a working relationship, like meeting another writer or artist. It seemed the universe would literally rearrange itself so I could meet that kind of person, only to find out that it was no guarantee of a working relationship. So after my lowest low of depression, I threw up my hands to the universe and said, "Clearly, I don't know what I need. Just send me someone who interests me. That's all I ask." Not long after that, I found a personal ad that just said, "British-born gentlemen would like to meet women." And that was it. All I wanted to do was meet a British man so I could get a better idea of what the rock star was about. I never expected it to get past the first date, partly because he was 2 years younger than me, and some guys have a problem with older women. Turned out he was a musician as a hobby, with a thick Brummy accent, a wonderful voice that always turned the women's heads when he talked, and a great sense of warped humor like mine. We just clicked. So I actually got what I wanted, an English musician on my doorstep for Valentine's Day, with a personality that gave me what I was looking for. He was well worth the wait, the love of my life, and we had 16 years together. Now here again, after being on the dating scene for over 4 years, I have met a man who is definitely a kindred spirit. He so closely matches what I've been looking for, I'm having a hard time believing he is real. We really click. I'm looking forward to getting to know him long term. There are no guarantees, and everything is more fragile as seniors like we are. It comes down to not giving up. So my understanding of how the law of attraction works is that you imagine in every detail exactly what you want, including a potential mate. Then write it down or say it out loud, then basically forget about it and move on with your life in the present. This will set in motion the creation and manifestation to develop and allow it to connect with you. You can't exactly set a timetable for it, and you have to be open for variables and detours. but you must give it your best shot. And once you have done that, the universe is much more willing to help you get what you want. Don't sit around waiting for it to be handed to you on a silver platter. Whatever it is that watches and helps us, it is there to assist, not do it for us, because we are here for the journey as much as anything. And it is the journey that makes us who we are. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.